Hey guys, I wanted to make a video talking about how we can utilize the 6-step system and get effective training while we're at home and really pinpoint the areas that we need to spend more time in into a lot of detail, breaking down all the moves of the technique. And you know what? It could be a lot. There's a lot of little details sometimes, and it might be too much. So people learn different ways. Some people really appreciate and enjoy the details. They want to know everything. So the breakdown is very useful. But if you're trying it out that way and it's not really resonating with you, if it's not clicking, then a lot of times people watch the beginning of the video, or I just go through the technique super fast, A through Z. So without breaking it down, it's just a one stop, start to finish. Sometimes people like watching technique videos that way. So within the whole video itself, you guys can pause at certain spots that are working best for you guys. So there's no real set way on how to do it. I would just really encourage you guys to make it your own and encourage them to know that this is a process and it's okay to fail. I'm here to help you. Let's try to work this out. Let's rewind the video. Let's go back to, that first action step or whatever it is. Let's check it out. Did we try this? Okay, well, let's give it a few more shots, and if not, we'll try the second technique, or we'll come back to this later. Those are just a couple little tips and tricks that I use when I'm coaching to problem solve, and that's the biggest thing, to problem solve and to attempt to figure it out. All right, and if it really is super frustrating, then I'm here as a resource to help you guys out. So I hope you guys know that you can contact me, and we'll figure it out together. So the first thing is we got to watch all the videos, and that way we can understand what the moves are, and we can understand the breakdown. Now each technique is broken down into 6 steps, so it makes it really easy to learn, even for even if you have a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old beginner student that you're helping out. If there's issues with any one of these steps, if you're following along with the videos, you can determine where this problem lies. So is it step 1, step 2? Is it an action step 1, 2, or 3? Or are you guys having issues with the details of the finish? So identifying where you guys are in the system will help you guys out, because then you can just pause the video there and spend more time in that specific section. And also you can let me know. That way I can go directly to where you guys are having issues. It's really helpful now. Now, since on Zoom, I've learned how to use the share screen, so I could share my screen with you guys and show you guys using the video exactly where some of the solutions could be. And if it's not on the video, then during our Zoom meeting, I can personally help you guys out. So yeah, you got to watch the videos and try to identify exactly where you guys are having those issues. One thing that I didn't really talk about, and is really specific to you guys, is how many repetitions. If a kid is getting the whole thing from start to finish, how many are they doing? Obviously, the more the merrier. I would try to do as many repetitions until they get bored, or have them teach you. That would be a good way to get them to constantly cycle through and get more reps in, and also change it up, because by teaching you, they're not getting bored, and it's reinforcing what they already learned. Now, if they are having issues, usually there's an arbitrary number, anywhere from 5 to 10, but you guys have the advantage of being right there with them. So as you encourage them to problem solve, before they move on, it could be any number. So the number of reps is really dependent on where you guys are at in each of the sections. And numbers aren't always the best way to solve an issue, because if you're doing 1,000,000 reps and you're not doing them correctly, then that could also be detrimental to learning. So instead of focusing on a number of reps, focus on the checkpoints. Focus on if you guys are doing those things correctly. That's how to utilize the system as a whole. And those are a couple tips that you guys can use to determine when to move on to the next step. Every week we cover a different theme that has to do with passing. And this week we're moving on to passing underneath somebody's guard. Now, if you guys are still working on the prior week and your kid is still super motivated, they still want to get more reps on those previous moves, I would say allow them to stay there. As long as they're constantly learning and they're curious and building that framework of learning, that would be more fundamental. Now, if they got that all down and they want to move on to this next week's underpass, that's great. But I wouldn't necessarily force them to move on to a new move. I would try to really just build that structure. So if they are utilizing the 6 steps to gauge their learning, that would be even more important. If they're not doing, if they weren't doing too good on the prior week's homework, that's okay too. Maybe they just need to try something new to spark that curiosity and move on. But what's going to carry over from last week to this week is using that 6-step program or system, and both you guys, parents and student, working together to identify what parts of the technique you guys like, what parts you guys are having trouble with. And that's another way to get them to do more reps too. If they like a certain section more, then while that momentum and that curiosity and engagement is there, encourage them to get more reps in that area, and then maybe encourage them to move on and try out the next step. Another way that you guys can work together, especially when your kid is super frustrated with the move, is simply trying it out yourself. You could try it out while your kid is watching. You could try it on your own. Have them read out what the steps are, and then you as the student can practice on the dummy or whatever you're using and try out the moves yourself. You guys can work together as a team and try to figure out the moves yourself. Is kind of switching gears now, outside of the 6-step system, is a lot of you guys are switching roles now, where I was asking you guys to be the X factor in their learning, and that was going to be kind of like the secret sauce that puts all this together. You guys being there, listening to the videos, understanding the videos a different way than kids are taking in that information, and mostly just being hands-on, another set of eyes to assist your kids in their learning. So I've asked you guys to put on another hat and play a different role. I would encourage you guys to see it as a different role than being a parent. That way we could find a balance, because we all want them to learn jiu-jitsu and perform their moves and get them all right. And it's kind of hard sometimes. It's kind of hard because this is a new format. A lot of you guys don't train, and we all have different expectations. We all want them to perform well, but if we can put on that different hat and maybe shift gears, shift our expectations a bit, then this will be a fun process for everybody. I think for me, I have to find the balance between being that tough, very strict Marine Corps drill instructor versus being that person who's over nurturing, just the adult that's too nurturing and too loose. And it's a fine balance because ultimately we care about our kids and we want them to keep learning. So in that spirit of learning, I really try to uh, spark that curiosity. If the kids are really engaged with it, then I'll use that momentum that they're giving to me and I'm giving to them to engage with the videos, engage with their learning. And I want to give you guys some other tips on what I would do. Um, so when you see that momentum, that's a good time where now we can get some more numbers in. We can build that repetition, and kids will do a lot. They'll do 10, 20, they'll do more than what you ask of them. Um, if a kid is having trouble with something and I don't really know how to address it, I will ask them, well, how did you come up with that? Oh, you don't get it? Okay, well, let's see. Did you try this? Let's go back to the video. Or let's uncover why it isn't working. Did you do those 2 steps? Did you hit those 2 checkpoints? Oh, you're still not getting it? Okay, what can we do different? Challenging them, right? Whoa, why isn't that working? Or why is it working? Cool. Keep doing that. Okay, I like how you're trying to fix that. I like how you're using the 6-step system. I like how you're so focused. All right, I'm gonna leave you alone for a few minutes, and try to get those reps. How many do you think you can do by the time I come back? Right, those common questions like who, what, when, where, why. I cycle through those just to get the kid to start thinking, get them to just get the engine rolling. But if we're stagnant and I'm just like, okay, we'll do it again, then I'm kind of just hammering down the same thing. And that doesn't all, that's like shoving a round peg through a square hole, forcing it through. And sometimes getting a hammer to just pound that through isn't always the best way. So I try to spark that curiosity, and even if they don't get it, they're still frustrated. The bigger picture is getting them to process the problem solving cycle. Okay, well, let me try to do it again. All right, let me try to do it this way. Why isn't it working? One improvement. One improvement is great. We're not looking to hit a grand slam, right? If we can just get to first base, that's huge. It's mostly about giving kids the little push and the little buildups of momentum. Let's see. Be experimental. We're learning too. I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly surprised at what the kids are giving me in terms of feedback, in terms of how engaged they are. And once I see that, then those are the things that I try to encourage and try to build and nurture out of them. Uh, it has to do with developing a growth mindset and encouraging them to believe that they already have what it takes to learn new skills and to solve these problems that they have on their own. And of course, it takes a lot of guidance because we're the adults and we're there for them. Hopefully, this has helped you guys out as well. And again, we're just looking to get to that first base. 1 or 2 improvements, that's huge right now. Not expecting a grand slam or a home run. So again, I'm here for you guys. If there are any questions, please let me know. And I'll see you guys in class on Monday for our next Zoom.